Well, this is a disturbing headline out of the Telegraph. Michelle Obama could be America's next president. What? Could the Democrat establishment be quietly planning for president Michelle Obama? Obviously, nobody thinks Joe Biden is fully in charge of his own White House. The real question is who is? Who's in charge of the White House? It ain't Kamala. There are more and more whispers that the man at the heart of things may be, in fact, still Barack Obama, who, unlike any other former US president for the past century, still maintains a residence, it's a primary residence, in Washington, D.C. Roughly 75% of top Biden aides are Obama era veterans. Um, so Biden, he's got all these aides. They're all Barack Obamas from his time in office. Now, one of Britain's top papers, The Telegraph, says that foreign politicians assume Biden won't be the 2024 nominee. And when they talk to him, they feel like they're just talking to the face of the operation, not its brain. This is what foreign politicians are saying. Whoever that brain is, they clearly don't want Kamala as president, okay? And they probably don't want Gavin Newsom either. Michelle, in contrast, polls well and can replace Kamala Harris, without anyone calling it racist, right? Because she's a black woman. She checks all the boxes off. Watch for Democrats as they start quietly pushing for Michelle Obama more and more as a unifying force for the party against Trump. Believe me, that's what's coming next. Is Michelle remotely qualified or capable of being president? The answer to that for Democrats is who cares? Nobody cares if she's qualified. For them, Joe Biden is the ultimate proof of concept that they can get the world to accept any warm or cold body as the president of the United States. Doesn't really matter who's president of the United States. They've already proved to us that you can put any old body in there, warm or cold even. And the whole operation can continue even if there is no president of the United States. 309-451-9299. Good morning. It's a Monday morning. Wake up and pray up. Big shout out to the Tabernacle kids, the youthers, Brandon specifically. We came out to, I think it was Blono Pizza. That's what it is. Blono Pizza, and we got to hit balls over the weekend. So I had a fantastic weekend. Lots of prayer. I'm very excited for this show. I've put a lot of prayer into it, and I hope that these stories buzz you up as much as they've got me buzzed up. I'm drinking my coffee here. Let's get into it. CNN, they have been mocked, and this is brutal. After they posted this guide, and it's kind of got an Illinois element to it. That's why I pulled it today. They've been mocked because they posted this guide for how to use neopronouns. And I'm going to butcher how you say these, but I think it's Z, pronouns. I don't understand. They're called neopronouns, and it's not like your traditional they, them, theirs, or hers, his. It's not your traditional pronouns. It's like Z, they, star, leaf. I know you're looking at your radio and you're like, wait a second, did she just say leaf and star? Yes, people are going by leaf and star now, like leaves off of a tree. CNN also discusses noun self-pronouns. So I'll get to what all of that means here coming up in just a bit. The new Snow White. So they're remaking Snow White, and it's a live action version of Snow White. And she's bragging that the prince could get cut from the movie altogether because apparently Disney hasn't let enough cash. So they've got the girl prancing around there who's playing Snow White in this new remake, I guess, or this live action version of Snow White. And she just reminds me of the gender studies major that you get stuck next to at the Thanksgiving dinner. And you're like, oh God, gosh, this girl again. I got Mom, why'd you put me next to this one? It's like that cousin that you don't wanna sit next to at the Thanksgiving dinner table because she's studying gender studies or whatever. So we're gonna get to that. She's out there saying that there's not gonna be a prince in the iconic movie like, the whole premise of the movie is that there's a prince, right? She eats the apple, she falls asleep. I think that's the right, or like has the kiss of life. Like that's the whole point of the movie. What's the movie going to be like if there's no prince? I don't understand. Later, I do want to talk about Oliver Anthony and how he shared his story, or well, really a story behind the song Rich Men North of Richmond. So it's already hit number 1 on iTunes. This is the best song, a song that has touched me in a way that I haven't. I mean, this song, I haven't felt this way about a song in years. I like this song a whole lot, and we're gonna play it here on the morning buzz for you coming up in just about 10 minutes. So let's get through CNN. So they have a lot of criticism, and they've been mocked after publishing a 2,000 word essay on the use and history of neopronouns. So this includes how to address a person or refer to themselves as a leaf, like a leaf on a tree. Okay, so that's how people want to be identified or referred to. They want to be referred to as leaf self. That's their pronouns. I don't understand. So the article is titled "A Guide to Neopronouns from AE to ZE." I don't know how to pronounce those. An expert on neopronouns. I love how they say an expert on neopronouns. Really, it's just some hack at University of Illinois. Like that's all this guy is. He's just some sort of hacky professor. And apparently he's an expert at neopronouns. I feel like you can't be an expert on these things because these things are completely insane. They're insane. So how are you possibly able to understand something that makes no sense and be an expert at it? I don't know. I guess it's just because he's a professor, but he's at the University of Illinois. His name's Dennis. So we're going to get to Dennis here in just a second, but he's quoted in this CNN article about neopronouns, and he says refusing to let people self-identify is a way of excluding them. So if you don't use these wacky pronouns, then you're the bigot and you're excluding somebody. So playing to its audience, CNN thought it would be necessary to explain what a pronoun is and how they are used daily. The article's author explained how neopronouns are often used by non binary, transgender, and gender non-conforming people because they offer more freedom of identity. And it even had a guide of how to use the neopronouns in a sentence. So this is like a 2,000-page word essay uh, and a guide on how to use these wacky pronouns. So CNN posted an article on Twitter, and the post now has 1.4 million views, only 511 likes, over 4,000 comments, and over 750 quote tweets, which the vast majority, all of the interaction on this post about CNN posting this guide on how to use neopronouns, it's all people making fun of it. Okay, which is like, what else are you to do when somebody wants to be called a leaf? Like, literally, somebody wants to be called a leaf or a star? What are you talking about? What planet is this? This is not a serious news outlet. And I will never forget when I was in college, I was told that I had to use CNN for my broadcasting stories instead of Fox News. I got yelled at. Somebody said, Why are you using Fox News? You have to use CNN. What? Wait a second. These aren't serious journalists. These are activist hacks. They just published a guide on how to use neopronouns and how to call somebody a leaf. So I guess the leaf and star pronouns, they're called noun self pronouns. And they explain it towards the end of the article. And, leaf, leaf self, star, star self. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I think that's certainly indicative of a total normal community without any mental health issues whatsoever. wanting to be called star or leaf, that is totally indicative of being mentally healthy and just normal. Yeah. No. Um, so according to CNN, if you want to be a star, you can be a star or star self or leaf self. Because a University of Illinois professor named Dennis Barron told the outlet, like it or not, lots of new words pop up every day. That's what the university professor said. Because yeah, so the university professor says, yeah, it's completely normal to have all of these words pop up in our English language, and if we start calling people stars and leaves, that's completely normal. Shut up. These people are crazy. Okay, do want to shift gears here on the Morning Buzz. I got time for one more story. Disney has announced another $10 million loss. Like, they are bleeding money. They I don't even know how they're afloat. But 10 million, they've lost 10 million subscribers. Oh, 10 million subscribers, not $10 million. I think it's much more than that. In fact, I think it's like in this last quarter near 700 million or something like that. So they've lost 10 million subscribers on their streaming channel, marking the third quarter of the company has seen, like, this is the worst quarter they've ever had. So in a related story, the actress who's playing this new Snow White character, she can't stop herself from pooping all over the most iconic characters, one of the most iconic characters of all time, Snow White and the prince, who wakes her up from this, poison apple. I think that's how the story goes. It's been a long time since I've watched Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. From what I understand, the evil witch, she takes the bite of the apple and then she gets saved by the kiss of life, the prince. It's an amazing story. And this actress, her name's Rachel Ziegler or whatever, and she's been whining about how old and out of touch the original movie is. Although, like, tens of millions of people for three-quarters of a century have enjoyed this film. So now she's got beef with the prince. I'm going to have to take a break, but when we come back, I'm going to play for you Rachel's comments about the prince and how she wants the prince completely eliminated from the movie Snow White. This new remake of and that's like a whole nother thing. If you wanted to create some sort of feminist movie or feminist fairy tale, go ahead. I mean, they did it with Frozen. Just make something new. Why would you take something that's awesome, like the movie Snow White, and completely change everything about it that makes it awesome? I don't get it. We're gonna come back. I'm gonna explain this story to you a little bit more about how she's got beef with the prince and how she's calling for the total elimination of the prince character in this film. We'll be back. Plus, Lizzo, she's no longer being considered for the Super Bowl halftime show because she's fat shaming people. Yes, you heard me right. Lizzo is fat shaming people. Good morning. How are we? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're watching, go ahead, smash that like button, share this video out with your normie friends. I'm Kat Peterson on the Morning Buzz. Is this your first time watching? Throw it into the comments section. We are going to be getting to the story about Lizzo. I've brought that story to you before, and I kind of regret it because what has gone on, and this is just degeneracy, okay? Degeneracy. If you're a degenerate like Lizzo, this is of course going to breed problems. So she took all of her dancers allegedly to this strip club, and she was making her dancers eat banana dildos that were coming out of the strippers' hoo-has. I can say this in the stream. I don't think I'm gonna go with this on air because kids could be watching or listening in the car. Um, but she took all of her employees to a strip club, which is just a big no-no, okay? Imagine if your boss were to take you to a strip club. That's a big no-no. And then she took them all to a strip club, and then she tried to force them to eat these dildos that were launched out of the hoo-has of these strippers. I don't know, I haven't seen the video or anything like that, but wow. Those allegations have caused, of course, the NFL, according to an NFL insider, to released that they are no longer considering Lizzo for the Super Bowl halftime show. This is causing a seismic quake in the entertainment industry. The Daily Mail reporting that the singer was going to be considered for the Super Bowl halftime, or at least maybe the Spangled Banner. But now with these issues and these allegations, she has been dropped from that list. It's unclear whether she's going to be replaced with an artist we actually like, or Dylan Mulvaney performing his new one-woman cabaret. But it's all unclear. I don't know who's gonna fill in the shoes of, Lizzo. But if I had like, who would you want to perform at the halftime show? Throw it into the comment section. Me? This Oliver Anthony guy, he has shot up, and man, I love this guy's songs. So he has actually come out and explained the story behind, why he came out with his song "Richmond, North of Richmond," and I said it in the beginning of the program here. I haven't been touched by a song like this in a very long time. This has moved me. I haven't been moved by someone's music in a very long time just because music sucks nowadays. And it's either riddled with cussing or it's like Lizzo's music. And it's just terrible. I'm a very old school person when it comes to music. And anymore, I've got and shout out, I'm just going to shout them out because I can. WCIC. They have great programming over there, and that's all I listen to anymore because I can't stand the contemporary music or modern day music. A lot of the time, it's crap. But this song is really good, and it speaks to what people are going through. And a lot of these elitists like Lizzo, um, and I'll even say it. I love Morgan Wallen's music. It's good, and I'm a big country music fan. But a lot of it's out of touch. People just don't like drink beers, and yeah, you have like these love stories and things like that, and a lot of what they do are these love stories, and he tries to get the girl and things like that. But I think that they're really out of touch with what people actually go through on a day-to-day basis, because they don't actually go through it themselves. um, Now one person in country that I am really starting to like is Bailey Zimmerman. Bailey Zimmerman is actually a hometown boy, Clay County, and, some of his music is really, really good. Um, but the problem with the entertainment industry is that they're very out of touch with people, because they partake in degeneracy, a lot, um, i.e., this example with Lizzo taking her employees to a strip club. That just doesn't happen in the real world, and Oliver Anthony is just so authentic, and you can't fake that. Like, I mean, we have a lot of country music stars who try to fake authenticity, and they're like, "Yeah, I grew up in a small town, and, I drove a truck, and," like, I know you don't drive a truck. I know that you have, like, an entire entourage who drives you around, dude. Like, you're not pulling the wool over my eyes. So this song has really moved me, and I think there's a reason why, and why I've been moved by this song and not other ones in years past. Not even really Jason Aldean's song. Like, I like it. It's not super moving and, like, it's empowering, I will say that, try that in a small town, but this song moves you, and I think it's because it comes from somebody who's truly authentic. Not to say that Jason Aldean isn't authentic and that he truly doesn't believe what he sings or believe what he's writing about. Um, but I will say that he's been famous for quite some time, a long time, and he is on a totally different level than, Oliver Anthony, I think, when it comes to being elite. So yeah, we're gonna get to his song plus Lizzo being dropped from the Super Bowl consideration. Big stuff. Also, I like this comment. I own the VHS version of Snow White. I do too. I bought it for my kids 35 years ago. Yeah, I don't know if we have the VHS player anymore, but I loved the movie Snow White. I haven't watched it since I've been a kid. I used to plug in Disney movies whenever I was sick. Well, my mom used to do that for me. We're back. Hold on. Big prayers for Maui, Hawaii. I think I've told you folks that we have a good friend and her son is there, and he's been going through all kinds of crazy trying to find a place to stay. They actually had to run out into the ocean to avoid burns. And then there were these fireballs that were coming out of the wildfire, and they were actually like going into the ocean. So being in the ocean wasn't even enough for these people, to not get burned because there were these big fireballs that were just flying into the ocean while all these people were, like, running to the ocean to avoid the wildfires. Uh, just tragic, just completely tragic, and big prayers, the death toll continues to rise. Joe Biden, he sends like a measly $12 billion or whatever. Meanwhile, Ukraine got, I think, 24 billion last week. He's asking for another 13 billion for Ukraine this week. It's insanity. Like, let's actually help out the 50th state of the United States, not the 51st state that, they're not actually a state. Ukraine is not a state. They are not a part of the United States. Hawaii is. Wake up, pay attention, realize what's happening here. Joe Biden is a foreign agent. He doesn't give a darn about you. Speaking of which, in just a little bit, we are going to be talking about Oliver Anthony. Have you heard the song? Go ahead, text in if you've heard the song, 309-451-9299, what you think about it. Oliver Anthony, he's sharing a story behind, and the story really behind Richmond, north of Richmond. Already number 1 hit on iTunes. He's got another song out there that's, like, number 9, coming in at number 9 on iTunes. It's a fantastic I've never been moved by a song like this and in a long time. Uh, and I think the reason for that is because artists just are inauthentic hacks, and, um, we'll get to that too. Lizzo, she's been dropped from consideration for the Super Bowl halftime show. And that's the best news I think that I could deliver on a Monday morning. So Lizzo, amidst all of these allegations, has been dropped from consideration. They were considering her for the halftime show, possibly even the Star Spangled Banner in the beginning. And it's because she's a degenerate and she was forcing her employees to go to a strip club and really was sexually harassing them. So allegedly, according to a lawsuit that 3 former dancers have, filed against her. So, we're gonna be getting to that story here in just a little bit, but like I said, Snow White, um, this woman who plays Snow White, her name is Rachel, and she's whining about how old and out of touch the original movie is. Uh, even though and here's my proof, folks, millions of people have been happy with this movie for 3/4 of a century. It's been out for a very long time. Now, all of a sudden, we've got beef with the prince in the film, and now we have this Rachel woman, calling for the prince to be no longer king. So, let's take a listen here, and I've got thoughts coming up in just a bit. Here we go.
37, and very evidently so. There is a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird, weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
So no prince or a different kind of prince.
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because like we cast a guy in the movie,
Right.
Andrew Burnap, great dude. It's it's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. I mean, the original cartoon
So
came
she's
out in
calling for, like,
1937,
all
and
of
a very
Andrew's scenes to be cut. These people live a very, what I call, I-focused life. They don't care about anybody else, they don't care about each other, and I watched the Barbie movie, you guys know that, and if you want my entire review, with Marcus Schrader, who was arrested for reading a Bible out in Wisconsin, he watched the movie as well, and I think that we had a really cool review of the Barbie movie. If you guys missed that, I did an entire review for Conservative Cat, which is a weekend show that I do from 5 to 7 on Saturdays. I tend to sit down with people in and around Bloomington Normal, and we talk about just the news of the day. And we had this review out there, and really what Barbie did with this whole Ken dynamic is separate men and women to where we don't like each other at all. Like, there is no middle ground. We can't get along. There's women and there's men, and there's this very I focused life where you just worry about you. It's selfish, really. It promotes selfishness. And in the Barbie movie, much like probably what this movie is going to do, Ken there's this, you might even see the marketing on the sweatshirts. He finds love in himself. He says, I'm enough. And there's this individualism that is plaguing America. And in the film, also, the Barbie film, Barbie, she is face to face with her creator, the inventor of Barbie. And she goes, well, you created me. What am I supposed to do? Aren't you supposed to have answers? And she goes, no, uh, I know I'm your creator, but you only hold the answers. And it's very scary to be living this individualistic life style and to see others live this very I focused life. You should, I believe, and I think that this is the only way that we create a better society. I believe that I'm here to serve others and love God, love people. It's very simple when you think about it, but these people are promoting the exact opposite of it. So there's Rachel Ziegler. She's playing this Snow White in this live action version of Snow White that's being remade. These clips are coming out now as if they're new. They're not new. They're at least a year old. And there is this belief out there that this is a deliberate, like a very deliberate move from Disney to release these clips. The movie is a holdover from Bob Chapek. Chapek, I think I'm saying that right. He's the former CEO who was at war with GOP presidential candidate Ron DeSantis. Like all the other movies that have gone broke for going woke that were produced under his watch, producers now know that Snow White is going to be a disaster. So they're trying to get out ahead of it, I think. Um, so this is their play every single time. They release like clips like this, um, and they withhold these like interviews with these people, and then they start to release little bits and pieces of it, and then they get people like these wackos on social media, of course, to tweet out a few mean comments, and then they take those mean comments and they use that as promotional material. The studio then tries to use the mean comments on videos like this released on X, formerly known as Twitter, and they'll use it to try to promote the content. They'll say, "Hey, look at all this hate that Rachel Ziegler is getting for being Snow White and for defeating the patriarchy." Blah blah blah, and that's how they promote the movie. They know it's going to be a flop. Um, so, and I'm just going to say this: I think that the hatred over how much Rachel hates Snow White is bipartisan. People have liked this movie, Snow White, for three quarters of a century. There's been millions of people who like the traditional story. And here's one thing that I don't understand. What's the point? If you're going to make a movie people have loved for generations and change it, everything about it, why bother? Why do that? Everybody loves this movie. Why touch it and try to ruin it? Just make a feminist fairy tale of your own. Create new content, kind of like Frozen, right? I think Frozen did well because it was kind of feminist. There wasn't really a whole love story. There was a little bit of a love story in there, but really it was the love between two sisters and it stepped outside of the traditional narrative. And I actually like the movie Frozen. There's not anything wrong with the movie Frozen, but it was definitely more feminist, definitely more progressive. But it was a new fairy tale. It was new. It wasn't like taking something that's already been made and blowing it up and destroying it. Like, for example, what they could do is make a Snow White film and kind of rename the character maybe Snow, take out the white part because then, that's her nickname for how she blows away the patriarchy. God forbid she have white in her name. Um, and the seven dwarves, they could be short little kings she's competing against for a vice president marketing job at Bud Light or something like that, right? They could create a film so like something like that, right? Take the Snow White, nix the white. She's just Snow, and she's this, fratty type vice president marketing job at Bud Light, and she climbs her way up to the top, and she defeats the seven dwarves, CEOs, and she makes a name for herself. So I don't know. I think that this movie is going to be well. I know this movie is going to be terrible, and it's going to lose them more and more money. And yes, I want to fact check myself. Disney near $700 million lost this quarter. 700 million. Million with an M. I'm going to be back. Let's talk about Oliver Anthony and his new song that has touched the hearts of millions of people now. It has shot up to number 1 on iTunes. It's called Richmond North of Richmond. That's next. Dude, Ezekiel, if you're gonna troll my page, then you've actually gotta listen to what I said. I did not say Jason Aldean is fake. I said he wasn't as authentic as Oliver Anthony, which is why I thought that Jason Aldean's song, "Try That in a Small Town," is not going to be as explosive as the Richmond North of Richmond song. So, Ezekiel, if you're gonna troll the page, then you've gotta listen to what I say. I duh. Right. I do want to talk a little bit about, this one, Rodrigo. He is a congressman out of, Mexico, and you're like, "Cat, why should I care?" Because you have to start in or you have to begin to understand what's coming next for America. You have to pay attention. Um There are already prominent voices, Dylan Mulvaney, who pal around with Joe Biden, and they wanna make misgendering illegal. We're already starting to see that happen in Michigan. So, Dylan Mulvaney, if he had it his way, he'd be put probably in cuffs for misgendering. Um, and that pesky First Amendment can only hold on for so long, folks, and we're starting to see that play itself out and manifest. Rodrigo, he spoke out on Twitter about a bill, that he said would make Christian teaching of sexuality and the idea that boys are boys and girls are girls illegal, and he shot that bill down, and he was, punished and was told that he was guilty of hate speech for shooting down this bill as a congressman in Mexico. Now, he has been charged and convicted of violence, including quote unquote digital violence for referring to transgender identifying congressman, woman, Z star leaf. I don't know. So he referred to a fellow congressman as a man instead of a woman. This man self ascribes as a woman. Okay. And he got in trouble for this. And he has a whole lot of penalties. He has to pay a fine, he has to submit, to re-education. Now, those are pretty usual for, the UK, Mexico, uh, these sorts of penalties for misgendering somebody. We don't have anything quite like that. I think you have to pay a fine in Michigan if you misgender somebody. So this is already starting to play out here in America. But one a couple of things in these penalties that I wanna bring your attention to, which is just completely I don't know if this is legal, it just is insane. One of this congressmen who, shot down this bill, which would make Christian teaching of sexuality, forbidden. He shot that down, and then he was accused of hate speech for shooting that bill down. Um, he has to register, and I quote, "as a political enemy of women." So they're treating him almost as like a sex offender. Then here's my favorite part. In addition to directing him to publish the court ruling and an apology drafted by the court on Twitter and Facebook daily for 30 days. So the court is forcing him to apologize on Twitter every day for a month. This is the equivalent of the teacher making you write out 100 times, you know? Uh, a boy is not a boy. I will not call a boy if they say they're a girl. Like, except instead of it being a mean teacher, though, really what it is, it's uh, government. It's the freaking branch of a government who is pushing this on him as a penalty for his crime of misgendering somebody in Congress and not complying with this bill that would make Christianity teaching or Christian teachings of sexuality illegal. So I'm going to be back with that story in just a bit. I'm casting my vote now. I would love to see Oliver Anthony perform at the Super Bowl. So, Lizzo, she got in trouble for fat shaming other dancers of hers and employees of hers. They're alleging that she created a hostile work environment and that she was sexually harassing them, and there's a lawsuit against Lizzo right now. Of course, Lizzo is denying all of these allegations, but I find this really awesome, and hilarious. The NFL said, amidst all these allegations, we're going to nix you from consideration for the Super Bowl halftime show." So she was being considered, and she is no longer being considered because she was fat shaming people. Yes, you heard me correctly. Lizzo is fat shaming people. This is causing seismic waves in the entertainment world. Okay. We are going to get to that story, plus Oliver Anthony shooting up to number 1 on iTunes. But first, you know him, you love him. William J. Kelly is going to be joining me here. Hold on just one quick second. We have got to get rid of this. Okay. Monkey buttons. We're getting it there. William J. Kelly, thanks for joining me on the
Thank
Morning Buzz. He's a veteran Chicago reporter, feared and despised by Mayor Lori Lightfoot, Emmy Award-winning producer. He joins me every Monday morning to talk about the crazy violence that goes on in Chicago over the weekend. You sent me a couple things over the weekend, William. One being Brandon Johnson, the current mayor, no
Yeah.
longer Lori Lightfoot, he picks the CPD vet Larry Snelling as the next Chicago police chief. Tell me about that.
Well, we the mayor of the city of Chicago gets to choose the police superintendent, so it's a highly political process. Sadly, the last few police superintendents that we've had have reflected the political nature of the appointment by essentially just rubber stamping whatever the mayor says. Shootings are down, crime is down. Where there's no need to worry about getting carjacked 100 times a day. None of this is even. It's all William Kelly's imagination. So that's the worry. That's always the concern among law-abiding citizens of Chicago. There are still a few. Kat, please trust me when I tell you this. The fact that, the good news, though, let's talk about that for a second, is when I'm out on the streets reporting, which is the only place I'm allowed to report now because, as you know, Mayor Lightfoot revoked my official City of Chicago media credential, which is another thing that's very odd. The City of Chicago gets to issue media credentials. That is, in my opinion, unconstitutional, and we're actually in federal court on Wednesday, the 16th. So we will. We're hoping to get that struck down on the 16th. So I will definitely have an update for you when I see you at the State Fair this upcoming week here. This week, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But the good news, I guess, what I was getting at is that whenever I'm on the street interviewing real people or talking to police officers, I never hear anybody saying that it's the Chicago Police Department's fault. They don't blame the police for the crime, obviously. They blame the Cook County State's Attorney. They blame the judges, right? So, the police superintendent, we have a new police superintendent in Chicago. We'll see. We'll see if he actually walks up to the microphone this afternoon and says, we're going to keep arresting criminals. It's up to the state's attorney to prosecute them. It's up to the jails to the judges to convict them. It's up to the Cook County sheriff, who I also interviewed on the street. Cat, you're gonna love this. I'll be posting that interview hopefully later today as well. I asked him about this whole, Pritzker's migrant police bill. I asked him about the Inn of Chicago, where the migrants are congregating right off of Michigan Avenue. So I got a chance to ask him these questions right out on the street as he exited an event. Cat, this is what you got to do in order to get any kind of interviews with any politicians in the city of Chicago. You literally have to
find them where they're going to be.
Find where they are and approach them on the street and ask them questions. Because the Chicago media, sadly, and this is nothing new either, by the way. Okay, this has been going on forever. I think my case has only, I guess you could say, called attention or amplified this problem. The Chicago media, and God bless them, I get it. They're not paid a lot of money. Okay, and if they ask real questions, they will get the William Kelly treatment. They'll be stripped of their credentials. They won't be allowed to go to the press conference. Some of these people, it's the only meal that they get. During the day, they go to the City Club of Chicago to hear a politician speak, and they get a free lunch at Marano's. You know what I mean? These people are living pathetic lives. You know what I'm saying? So here's the thing: they don't want to ask any questions. They don't want to lose their access, and which is actually kind of worse, though, when it comes to real people, the people that we care about, the law-abiding citizens of the city, the state, the country. They aren't going to ask the real questions of the corrupt and incompetent politicians because, and then I'll shut up, because what they really, really, really want is to get a job with
them.
Yeah.
You're so right. I see this so many times, and being that I went to,
they're auditioning for the politicians. They
Yep.
read the politician. They take the press release from the politician. They go to the press conference and they say, candidate for, whatever, treasurer, comptroller, secretary of state, whatever. Hey, in your press release, it says that you're going to be the best secretary of state ever. What is your response? And then when the Democrat gets elected to the office, because the Republican Party in Illinois refuses to even contest these elections, before, during, or after, even during the election, they refuse to contest the election. Then what happens is, the new Democrat statewide office holder says, "Hey, I remember that reporter. He or she used to just ask me the best questions. I'm going to hire them." And then all of a sudden, now they've got a 6-figure job. They've got benefits. They've got a pension. They're the luckiest people in town, Cat.
Oh, and I've seen it with these politicians. What they'll do, they'll create entire non-government organizations with their pals.
Yes.
And then they give these journalists jobs in these non-government organizations, I don't know, and let's just say, the Immigration Project or something like that. Oh, I remember when you gave me this softball about these immigrants. Here's a job in the Immigration Project NGO. You're going to get $100,000 salary. You're going to get to come to all of these events, these black tie events, and you're going to get to bump elbows with all of us politicians and us elitists. And these journalists, coming out of college, or people who get into it for all of the right reasons. I feel like I've been damned by this political system. I feel like I've been a victim of this political system. And we're gonna get to this song here. I'm sure you've heard it. Oliver Anthony talking about how he ain't got a dollar. We're overtaxed. I wish politicians cared about minors and not minors on an island somewhere. Like, we all feel this way. So these
Right.
journalists, they
Yeah.
get into it for all of the right reasons. And
Right.
then they're like, well, this is just impossible. I'm just going to befriend these people.
Right.
And hopefully one day they give me a job in this cushiony non-government organization. I see it all of the time, being that I had friends in journalism school. I mean, it happens. You're so right, William J. Kelly. We do have to take a quick break. But William J. Kelly, tell us where to find more about you. And
Oh,
I'm excited to see you out at the Illinois State Fair.
yeah, I love it. Well, get this. I'm in court on the 16th. So the day I was planning on driving down to the fair to interview
Mm.
the Democrat and Republican politicians. But right after court, I'm hoping to shoot out. Um, we are in federal court on the 16th. It's a freedom of speech lawsuit. Freedom of speech is under attack in this country. Make no mistake about it. That it's like the number one issue that people should be kind of caring about, because without that, we're lost. Reporter WilliamJKelly.com is where you can find all the information on that. Also, I gotta say it, there is a GoFundMe. It's a tax deductible donation to my defense fund, because as you know, Kat, I'm not making friends with politicians out here. Okay, I'm not going to get I'm not going to get a 6-figure job with Alexei Janulius or Pritzker
Yeah.
or any of these people. Okay, so if you
Mhm.
want to help me fight for freedom of speech, it's a precedent-setting case. So it will affect you, Kat, whether you like it or not. If I fail, we fail. We all hang together, as they say. Reporter WilliamJKelly.com. If you can make a donation, anything would be appreciated.
Wonderful. William J. Kelly, thanks for joining me here on The Buzz. And
Thank you.
speaking of freedom of speech, what we're going to do, William J. Kelly, on the other side, I'm talking about this. Actually, it comes from a place not in the United States, but it's coming here to the United States. Make no mistake. He was penalized for misgendering somebody. And
Get ready.
this guy
Get
is facing
ready.
all kinds of penalties, including he has to issue a social media post every single day for the next 30 days apologizing for misgendering somebody. I'll
All
be
right.
back on the other side. Hey, folks, if you're watching right now, go ahead and smash that like button. We are coming back and we are going to be talking about Oliver Anthony and how his song has shot to #1. Plus, Lizzo, she is no longer being considered for the Super Bowl halftime show. Plus, I have this former congressman. He's been convicted of misgendering, and he was given this insane penalty where he has to every single day for the next 30 days issue some sort of apology on his social media. This is compelled speech. This is for speech. It's coming to America. Make no mistake. We're back. A former congressman out of Mexico, he was convicted for misgendering someone. And he was given this insane penalty. And a part of this penalty is that he has to apologize every day for a month on his social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, and he has to issue a court draft. Like, the court wrote up this apology for him, and he has to post it every single day for 30 days. Wow. And make no mistake, that is coming to the United States. We're already starting to see it in Michigan, where you could be penalized, fined if you misgender someone. And it's no shock, right? Because we have people like Dylan Mulvaney sitting down with the president of the United States, Joe Biden, and he's sitting there. He's a prominent voice, and he's buddy buddy with Joe Biden, and he's saying how he wants to make it illegal to misgender somebody in the United States. That pesky First Amendment can only hold on for so long here. And Rodrigo Cortez, he spoke out about a bill and said that he would make Christian teaching of sexuality, that's boys and boys are boys, girls are girls. That's all Christian teaching of sexuality really is. At the end of the day, it's boys are boys, girls are girls. And boys and girls complement each other in the covenant of marriage. That's it. That's all that Christian teaching is. And he was accused of hate speech. He was found guilty of hate speech, and he was charged and convicted of violence, including digital violence, for referring to this trans identifying congressman. Jury's still out on that one. Is it a congressman, woman? Z, Zay, Zem, star, leaf? Apparently, you can go by a leaf or a star now, according to CNN. They just published that article. People are identifying as stars and leaves. I wish I was making it up. I'm not. So he got charged with digital violence because he referred to a fellow congressman as a man. And apparently, this man self ascribes as some sort of woman. And he got into big trouble because he called him a man. So I'm going to go through his penalties here coming up on the morning buzz. I'm also going to get into this story, Oliver Anthony. Love Oliver Anthony. I think this is an amazing song. It's called Richmond, North of Richmond, and I'm going to play it for you here. It's been, I don't know, 7 days or something like that, 6, 7 days, I don't know, since he's released this song, and it has blown up on the internet. I mean, he is a sensation. And within 24 hours, this guy had millions of people watching this music video of him just out there. I love the deer stand in the back in this music video. Reports are showing that this song is hitting #1 on the iTunes charts. So this is the #1 song in America by the iTunes metric. And he's got another song. It's #9 on iTunes. It's called Ain't Got a Dollar. So we're going to listen to that song here coming up on the buzz. And like I said, I haven't been moved by a song in such a long time as much as this one. And there's a reason why. It's because you can't fake this authenticity coming from Oliver Anthony. You can't fake it. And of course, right on the heels of that, I'm going to be talking about Lizzo and how she is no longer being considered for the Super Bowl halftime show. And I'm shocked that it's not because her music sucks, but rather these new allegations of Lizzo fat shaming people. Yes, you heard that correctly. Lizzo fat shaming people. Uh, that's causing seismic waves throughout the entertainment industry. So we're going to be back here on the Morning Buzz. Be sure to see me live in the studio. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. And do subscribe to Kat Peterson. That really helps me out, folks. I can't explain enough how much that helps me. If you just go to Kat Peterson 929 on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. I'll be back with more on the buzz. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. If you're watching, go ahead, smash that like button. We're going to be coming back and we're going to be talking a little bit about Oliver Anthony, who has this #1 song. It's so good. It's called Richmond, North of Richmond. Be sure to smash that like button if you're watching. Now, another thing that we're going to be talking about here in the 8 o'clock hour is Dan Calkins is going to be joining me. And we're going to talk about the 2A song. We're going to talk about the Second Amendment song. And I'm getting a phone call here. We're going to be talking about the Second Amendment, the gun ban, the so-called assault weapons ban. Really, what it does, it bans guns that have over a capacity of, I think, 15 rounds or something like that. So if it's got 16 rounds, then it's banned here in the state of Illinois. It's illegal to own those firearms. So I'm going to ask him the question, hey, was your lawsuit weak? And should you have worked with Tom DeVore? Yes, Ryan, that could have led to this. I don't know if the decision, the Illinois Supreme Court decision, was because that the cases were all kind of weak and, without Dan Calkins supporting Tom DeVore, could it have led to the Illinois Supreme Court in this 4-3 decision where they struck down, or where they upheld the Illinois so-called assault weapons ban. So we're going to be talking with Dan Calkins on that. Here in just a little bit. I'm not shocked. The one thing that I am kind of shocked about is that one of the now they probably coordinated this out, right? They probably realized that they had enough votes to uphold it. So they had um, Mary Kay O'Brien, who was the Illinois Supreme Court justice. She actually voted with those who voted to strike down this assault weapons ban, so-called assault weapons ban. Um, it's really just a high capacity magazine gun ban. A high capacity, if you wanna call 16 rounds high capacity or whatever. So she was one of the judges that got this $1,000,000 donation, and I thought for sure that she was going to side, with JB on this and uphold the gun ban. But she didn't. But she did wind up writing her own reason as to why she struck down the gun ban, and I haven't gotten into the nuts and bolts of that decision yet and why she made her decision. Lisa Holder, she obviously voted to strike down the gun bill. So we'll talk about, these judges and how they got these $1,000,000 donations and if we believe that contributed to their decision. Now, both of them had different, so the two judges, Democrats, who received those $1,000,000 donations, one voted to strike the gun ban and to get rid of it, and the other one voted to uphold it. So I thought that was kind of interesting. They must have known that they had the votes to uphold it, and perhaps Mary Kay was one of those people who, to avoid this whole question of, "Hey, did your $1,000,000 donation from JB cause you to vote the way you did?" So obviously JB would have wanted people to vote for the gun ban. Um, but the politicians do this all of the time. They mess around with their votes, and if they think that they have enough to uphold it, then they will vote a certain way to change the optics or to get certain campaign um, dollars from Republicans or something like that. Her dissent was really well written. You're talking about Mary Kay O'Brien, right, Ryan? And the issues were part of what DeVore was working on in his case. The dissent mentioned a lot of what DeVore's case would have brought up. Cool. Um, so yeah, I haven't read her dissension and why she dissented, but yeah, I think DeVore's case was definitely probably stronger. Um, However, I don't think that this is gonna hold up in federal US Supreme Court is going to hold this up. This is ridiculous. Um, and this is just a way for JB to gain some sort of political ground. Now, whether he wants to launch himself in some sort of presidential run, it's getting kind of late for other candidates to be throwing their hats into the races. Like I told you this morning, Michelle Obama, the Telegraph, put this out there that Michelle could be America's next president. Um, could the Democrat establishment be quietly planning Michelle for president? Obviously, nobody thinks that Joe Biden is in charge of anything at the White House. He's not in charge of his own White House. And we know it's not Kamala Harris. So more and more whispers, people think that the man behind it all is President Barack Obama, who, unlike any other former U.S. president in history, has maintained a primary residence in DC. So that's very peculiar. So I don't know. Um, the Michelle Obama thing makes sense. I don't think that foreign politicians really want Gavin Newsom either. Um, Michelle does very well in the polls, and she can replace Kamala Harris without anyone calling it racist because she's also a black woman. So Gavin Newsom replacing Kamala Harris as president, um, people would cry racism, but they might just push a Michelle out there. I don't know. We'll have to see. Ryan, thanks so much for commenting. I'll have to read her dissension. I'm thinking that it's um, going to be good. Yeah, I agree. The biggest test will be the appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States, and it won't hold up. Yeah. Um, and we can thank President Trump for that. The Illinois Supreme Court, they're finding that this so-called assault weapon ban, it's not an assault weapons ban. What it does, it bans so-called high-capacity magazines. That is very relative. Okay, it's magazines that hold over 15 rounds. So call that a high-capacity magazine if you want to. But the Illinois Supreme Court found that that ban was constitutional. It's not. It's going to be appealed, I'm sure, up to the Supreme Court of the United States, uh, the U.S. Supreme Court, and they're not going to keep this. It's very blatantly an attack on the Second Amendment. So we're going to be visiting with Dan Calkins, State Representative Dan Calkins, who had a lawsuit out there and was a part of this case, uh, advocating for the Second Amendment. And I'm going to ask him the tough questions, right? Some people say that his lawsuit was weak in comparison to Tom DeVore. And had Dan Calkins worked with Tom DeVore rather than have this kind of split, would that have changed the ruling? So I'm going to get his thoughts on that in the 8 o'clock hour. But this out of the Telegraph this morning, I think this is interesting. And let me know what you think. Michelle Obama for president. So the Telegraph, they've got this headline. It says Michelle Obama could be America's next president. And could the Democrat establishment be quietly planning for Michelle to be president? Obviously, nobody thinks Joe is in charge. Okay, he's not fully in charge of his own White House. The real question is, who is in charge? It ain't Kamala Harris. We know that. There are more and more whispers that the man behind everything is Barack Obama, who, unlike any other U.S. president, former U.S. president, he keeps a primary residence in D.C. And I do want to point this out. Joe Biden's aides, 75% of them are from the Obama era. So 75% of them are Obama era veterans. Now, one of Britain's top papers, The Telegraph, says that foreign politicians, they assume Joe Biden won't be president and he won't be the 2024 nominee. And when they talk to him, they feel like they're talking to the face of the operation, not the brain. Whoever that brain is, they clearly don't want Kamala Harris as president. So I don't know if they're, pushing for Gavin Newsom, possibly J.B. Pritzker. This is why he's pulling the stunt with the assault weapons ban, the so-called assault weapons ban. He knows that the U.S. Supreme Court is going to not hold this up. It's blatantly against the Second Amendment. But Michelle Obama, she polls very well, and she could easily replace Kamala Harris as some sort of president, because she's black, she's a woman, and people won't call it racist if she replaces Kamala Harris as president. So watch as these Democrats, they're going to start quietly pushing for Michelle Obama more and more, I think. And they're going to say she's a unifying force for the party and she can defeat Trump. Michelle, she's not even remotely qualified or capable of being president. But the answer to that for Democrats, is she qualified? It doesn't matter. Their answer to that is who cares? They've already proven that they can just put a warm body in there or cold. It doesn't really matter, warm or cold. And they can put somebody in that position and they'll be accepted by the United States as the president of the United States. And the world will accept anybody as the president of the United States and it won't hurt their operation. So just thoughts for the day. Morning Buzz, 309-451-9299. You can see me live in the studio, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Twitter. And be sure to subscribe to the channel. That's Kat Peterson 929 on YouTube. Now, before we took the break, I was telling you a little bit about Oliver Anthony. So he is now out there sharing his story about this song that is blown up. I mean, he is a sensation. Billions of people are watching this. Oliver Anthony, he made this song. It's called Richmond, North of Richmond. Reports show that it's #1 on the iTunes charts. And he's got another song out there. It's called Ain't Got a Dollar. And that's #9. So let's take a listen to Ain't Got a Dollar. I think this is a really good one too. by Oliver Anthony. And, I haven't been moved by a song in a very long time in the way that Richmond, North Richmond moves me, but this is the song Ain't Got a Dollar.
I got a
And I think
little
the reason why it's
spot in the
a lot of what he sings about is so moving is because he's authentic. He's not one of these singers who's trying to come across as like some sort of country singer who, I got a truck, I got a dog, and I got a girl, and I drink beer. He's not like that. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
Well, I ain't got a dollar, but I don't need a dime. I got a little spot in the country where I spend all of my time. When the sun goes down on this itty bitty town, we can light up the bowl and pass it around. I ain't got a dollar, but I don't need a dime.
I just love it. I love it so much. It's such a great song. It's so true. Now, you all know that I grew up in the boonies with my family, and when you grow up in one of these itty bitty towns in Illinois, it's it's so true. You don't really need all that much. And I mean, his song is so moving. And that's not even the one that's blowing up, folks. like the one that I've got here, Richmond, north of Richmond. So he shared the story finally about why he created this music and put it out there on his YouTube page. This was his first song ever. Like he was a no-name singer, and we've been able to make him famous by sharing this song out. And I think we made the right guy famous because, in fact, he is a Christian. He breaks out his Bible and starts reading from the book of Psalms when he's performing for all of these people, and he's doing autographs. And, he said that he's going to sit out there in the sun and, in the heat, and he's going to sign these autographs. And unlike Megan Rapinoe, he's actually going to look at the people who are coming up for those autographs and talk with them. But uh, he's a ginger singer, and he's got a bit of a sense of humor to him. He says that he admits he might not have a soul because he's ginger. Uh, but he talks about where this music comes from, and it comes from his life and the lives of his friends and coworkers he meets along the way. And he goes, quote, "I met a lot of good people working third shift, 12 hours, 6 days a week. And now I spend a lot of time on these job sites and I meet people from across the country. And the universal thing I see is that it's like no matter how hard they push and how much effort they put into whatever it is they're doing, they just can't quite get ahead because the dollar ain't worth nothing. And it's overtaxed. So this is the song, and I've edited it so that way it's family friendly. He does cuss quite a bit in the song, and I think that I mean, he's mad. He's mad like a lot of people. So we're gonna take a listen to the song that is blown up, number 1 on iTunes. This is called uh, Richmond North of Richmond. Richmond North of Richmond. So let's take a listen, and you guys can see the music video on YouTube, Facebook,
what
Twitter,
the
or
world's
Rumble. I'll
gotten
put the link there
to
for you.
for people like me.
Here we go.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for both pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and And I don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't and it's taxed to no end. Cause the rich men, cause the rich men.
Ooh, ooh, it is so good. I just love that song so much, and I know that you do too. And for good reason, right? It's because he's talking about being overtaxed and how these rich men north of Richmond, Virginia, right? And besides the obvious blue collar struggles, the song touches on two things. One, it also talks about suicide. And I think I told you on Friday that the suicide rates have jumped. They are the highest they have ever been in US history. And coming out of the pandemic, I think a lot of us found ourselves struggling with some sort of depression or the like. And this is what he says, Oliver Anthony, about the song. He says the song touches on suicide and mental health and depression. There's no reason why young men and women in this country should be committing suicide. There's a bigger universal problem, and a lot of people know that. It's common sense. We don't talk about it enough, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe that is the problem. The other parts of the lyrics, my favorite is I wish politicians would look out for minors and not just minors on an island somewhere. And these corporate journalismers, right? No doubt that line in the song is going to have them clicking away on their keyboards and they're like feverishly looking for something that Oliver Anthony said on Facebook maybe 10, 20 years ago or worse. Oh gosh, God forbid Oliver Anthony like a meme and they're going to find a meme that he liked and, call him a racist or whatever. Uh, but Oliver Anthony, he says, I think one of the worst things a human being can do is take advantage of a child, and I can't even begin to conceptualize what has to happen to someone in order for them to think that that's okay. I think I drew the line on being quiet when I started to see this sort of thing becoming normalized, and I'll leave it at that. That's what he says here, and I'm just directly quoting him. He broke his silence, talked about the song and what it means to him. And like I said, I don't think I've been moved by somebody's music like this in a very long time. It's a very good song. Definitely, Lizzo has never produced anything that great. So Lizzo, she's actually been dropped from the Super Bowl consideration amid all of these allegations. She sexually harassed, allegedly, her coworkers and her employees. She allegedly fat shamed them as well. And this is sending quakes, just seismic quakes throughout the entertainment biz. So these heavy allegations against Lizzo have blown a plus-sized hole in what used to be a very promising career, or what I believe, not a very promising career, but a deliberate, unrealistic media narrative that she is something great. She's not. She's terrible. Uh, so she used to be this body positive role model, but then all of these allegations of her being a fat phobic fat shamer and one who allegedly makes her dancers eat bananas coming out of strippers' hoo-has, yes, I'm not making that up, has caused everything to come crashing down around her. Everything in her life is crashing down around her. And now the artist is being dropped from consideration to perform at the Super Bowl. And this is causing a seismic wake in the entertainment industry, causing big waves, big seismic quakes in the entertainment industry. So Daily Mail, they've got the story, the exclusive on this. And they were reporting that she's no longer being considered by the NFL. Now, it's unclear if they're going to be replaced with an artist football fans actually like, or if Dylan Mulvaney is going to be pushed out there in this one-woman cabaret. Imagine Dylan Mulvaney in his leather booty shorts that he likes to wear, and he's on, like, a unicycle with, like, a violin and, like, a drum and, like, a flute, hanging out of his mouth. I think that would be really funny. And I'd honestly be all for that if he was the Super Bowl performer. But my true vote, if I really want somebody to perform at the Super Bowl, how awesome would it be if Oliver Anthony performed at the Super Bowl? Pretty darn cool, right? So now the NFL insider tells the Daily Mail, amidst all this backlash, they're immediately dropping Lizzo from consideration for the halftime Super Bowl show. So they previously had her name in the mix with a bunch of front runners. So she was a front runner for this 2024 spectacle that happens at the Super Bowl. And the drama, let me get you some background here. There's a lawsuit, and it's three former dancers who filed this lawsuit, and they said that there's a hostile work environment, and Lizzo started questioning the dancers' commitment, one of these dancers' commitment, which I think in the dancing world is considered, if you question somebody's commitment to dancing, you're pretty much saying, girl, you chunky. Uh, but I don't quite understand all of that, but really what it is the hypocrisy for me. So, um, the old adage remains true. It's not so much the crime as much as the hypocrisy. Okay, she is huge. Lizzo is ginormous. She's 400. I don't know, 400 plus pounds, and she's gonna sit there and fat shame people. Plus, it's the degeneracy. A part of this lawsuit is this trip that I guess Lizzo took with all of her employees to Amsterdam, where things quickly got out of hand. Lizzo began inviting cast members to take turns touching nude performers. Now, imagine, put yourself in, uh, like, just put yourself in the situation. Your boss is having you go to a strip club and having you touch these naked performers. And then there were all kinds of other things that I'm not gonna get into the details here on the radio, but it was disgusting. And, 9 of the employees have come forward, made complaints. The artist remains, she's passionate about saying that she's innocent. She's like, "Yeah, I'm innocent, and these are false allegations." Okay. This is pretty specific, an answer where they go into detail about what they had to do in front of Lizzo at this strip club in Amsterdam. But it's unclear if Lizzo is going to ever recover from this. I sure hope not. I've got to take a break, but when we come back, there's this congressman, and he's out of Mexico. It's not a US congressman, but these are one of those stories where I file them under pay attention, America. Pay attention, because this kind of stuff is going to be coming to the United States. Make no mistake. A congressman out of Mexico convicted of misgendering someone, and he was given this insane penalty. And part of these penalties, it includes him having to apologize every day on social media for a month for misgendering somebody. I'll be back next. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. If you're watching, go ahead and smash the like button. Good morning. I so do appreciate you tuning in. Smash the like button. We are going to be talking a little bit about this congressman out of Mexico. Also, you won't want to miss it. This full transcript is out. There's this lawyer, a lawyer, yes, saying that she is Antifa, and she is vowing to remember all of these jurors' faces in this Andy No case. So if you haven't been following this Andy No case, don't worry. I will catch you up. But Andy No is a reporter from the Post Millennial. From my understanding, the man is actually gay. Uh, I'm from what I understand. Let me double check that, but I'm pretty sure that that is true. I love Andy No. He's a very talented reporter. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. Let me look. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, mm, I'm not too sure about that. I'll find out, if he's gay or not. And not that it matters. I'm just trying to, prove to you that this was, I mean, I don't know if it was a hate crime or what. Definitely, they were trying to silence him for his reporting out of Portland, Oregon, when Antifa, the Summer of Love. The guy, Andy No, he was violently attacked and hurt physically. So what happened was there were some defendants on trial, and this is out of Rose City, or Rose City, Oregon. It's called Rose City Antifa in Portland, Oregon. That's what they're called, Rose City Antifa. And apparently, the people who were on trial, these defendants, they were doxers, and they were being accused of doxing Andy No, who is this post millennial reporter. He's an independent journalist, was an independent journalist, and got picked up, I think, by post millennial, very talented. And they doxed Andy, which led to these Antifa militants in the ski masks and in the scarves to go find him and physically beat him on May 28th of 2021, before he had the chance, before he died, because I'm sure they would have killed him. He was able to escape to a nearby hotel and seek refuge. So that's what these people were on. They were on trial for the doxing. They weren't on trial for the physical beating, because obviously the people who physically beat him, he wasn't able to see who they were because they were all in black ski masks. So they were on trial for doxing him. So they must have published his whereabouts or something. That's what doxing is. And now this is explosive. We've got the lawsuit, or the case here where this was all dropped, where the lawyer in this case, the criminal defense attorney, so the person representing the Antifa militants, or the Antifa doxers, she comes out and she says that we've got the full transcript of her closing statement in trial. And this is just something else where this defense attorney says, I'm going to get a t-shirt that says I'm Antifa. And this is not a case about Antifa. Antifa stands for anti-fascist. It is for folks who believe that fascism, that dictatorships, and that oppression of people is wrong. And she says this: resistance in this country has never been peaceful. So not only is she claiming that she's Antifa in her closing argument, but also that the resistance, the physical violence, the burning down of buildings, the looting, the rioting, that is all necessary because movements and resistance in the country have never been peaceful historically. And she is justifying, which is just flat out wrong. MLK Jr., right? The I Have a Dream speech, the sit-in that is very peaceful on their side, right? They were the ones trying to invoke some sort of change, and she's trying to say that these people are agents of change, and that this resistance is not supposed to be peaceful. So we're going to be back here in just a second. Well, this is embarrassing. And I think that this means that there should be some sort of mistrial declared. The full transcript is now out, and the lawyer is saying, I am Antifa, and she's vowing to remember all of the jurors' faces during this Andy No trial. So I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the Andy No case. I've been looking at it. Andy No is a very talented reporter. He, I think, was an independent journalist at one point, and then went over to the Post Millennial and was reporting for the Post Millennial. So during the Summer of Love, these Antifa people doxed Andy, allegedly. And this doxing led to him being physically assaulted by some Antifa militants who were wearing black ski masks. He was brutally assaulted, beaten, on May 28th of 2021. He did escape, so he didn't die. He was able to get to a nearby hotel to seek refuge from the beating. But there were some defendants on trial who were doxing Andy, letting people know, they're letting these Antifa militants who are dressed in black ski masks and carry around AK-47s, they were told about Andy No's whereabouts. And he was saying that, hey, this is what led directly to my physical assault. So on Tuesday, the jury found that the defendants were not liable on the allegations against them in Andy No's complaint. He was complaining that, hey, their doxing led to my physical assault. And he had accused the defendants of assault, battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress over multiple incidents that began in 2019. So he's been going through this for years, and and ultimately it led to him being beaten by some Antifa militants. So the explosive thing about this is that the lawyer, the gal defending the defendants, the gal defending the Antifa militants who allegedly doxed Andy, comes out and says that she's going to remember all of the jurors' faces and that she herself is Antifa. So I don't know if that's threatening the jury or what, or if there is going to be some sort of mistrial declared. I'm going to dig through this trial and give you the details. But first, well, I got to take a break. So we are going to talk about that story. And former congressman in Mexico, he was found guilty of misgendering somebody. Gasp. But you won't believe his penalties, folks, because he's being penalized very unfairly. And a part of one of these penalties, and this is just one penalty or one thing that he has to do to reconcile his misgendering, he is being forced to apologize every day on social media for a month. And that's court ordered. That's the court telling him he has. This is compelled speech. This is a court forcing somebody to apologize on their own social media account. That's crazy. Pay attention, America. It's coming here. We're going to be back. Scott Robbins joining me for Scott's Takes on the Morning Buzz, 7:32 a.m. I'm Kat Peterson. Find me on YouTube. That's Kat Peterson 929.
for both pay so I can sit out here and waste my life away. Drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an hope.
I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand why you can't just leave something alone. I don't understand it. I don't, unless it's really real. I mean, the Bud Light thing aside, I mean, that was a grassroots reaction to something, right? And other, but the boycotting and the pissed off about a song, dude, really? Are you playing? By the way, is the country state? Are they playing that right now?
I don't know. I don't know if they are going to.
Well,
So you heard it cut out a couple of times. It does cuss quite a bit.
Oh, there was a lot of swearing there. Okay, I was wondering what that was.
Yeah. It cusses a bit. He says working all day for blank pay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again,
working all day for blank pay. My favorite part of the song, he says, "I wish politicians would care about minors and not minors on an island somewhere." So. Oof. Yeah, it's definitely
no wonder they don't like it. Then no wonder they hate it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the
rolling. The thing is, I like a Rolling Stone magazine. They did the whole Stompy Foot too on the what was that dude's name that had the big record?
Jason Aldean.
Jason Aldean, thank you. The Jason Aldean song, they hated it, and it was lynching and all this nonsense that it wasn't about. But what happens is, and I remember talking to Alice. I'm going to go way off course here from where I was, but a conversation I had personally with Alice Cooper. Now, Alice Cooper is a Christian. He's an alcoholic, recovering alcoholic, been sober for many years now, but is a Christian, a faith guy, right? You wouldn't know it because of Alice Cooper, the character, right? But he says Alice Cooper is a character. That's what he does. But he talked about the early days of the band and some of the crazy things that was being said about them. And he said, we didn't deny anything because we figured out, whatever, they're going to write whatever they're going to write. And he said, and plus the fact we sold more records based on that stuff because it was, you're not supposed to listen to that. That's all you have to do is tell people that they shouldn't listen to it or they should object to it and they'll buy it. They're like, no, wait a minute. I'm not going to listen to you. But it makes you curious. You're going to hear a song you never would have heard before, ever. And it's going to become a hit record. And it's based on the fact that those people told you not to listen to it, that it was awful and evil. And the exact opposite happens, but these dopes don't get it. I mean, they just don't understand how it works. Crazy. Fires going on, man. That's all over the place this morning. Where's the president, by the way, on all this? Oh, he's on vacation, isn't he?
Yeah.
Again.
Yep, in his turtle swim trunks.
How about that?
Turtle swim trunks.
How about that?
You're the president of the United States. Why you got cartoons on your swim trunks? Like, at least pretend to be an
somebody
adult.
Just gives him things here. Put these on. He was asked about the fires in Maui, and his comment was no comment. That's what he said. No comment, right? No comment. No comment. Yeah, the empathetic president. Well, I'll say at least it's a step above. Where's Maui?
Yeah.
I mean, just barely, but it is a step above that. Also, did you see Ramaswamy rapping this weekend?
Yeah, that was at the Iowa State Fair, wasn't it?
Yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy was rapping to a rap. Well, it was a rap song.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I know that song, by the way. Do you know that song?
Oh no, I don't know what one he rapped. I know back when he was in college, he would participate in like these contests, like rap contests.
Well, it's an Eminem song.
Oh, is it Lose Yourself?
Yes.
Lose Yourself.
Music, the moment, the whoa. That song, I know that song. He rapped it, And people were, is this his Howard Dean moment? Remember when Howard Dean did the Scream thing and ended his career right there?
Mm-hmm.
Or when Michael Dukakis was sitting in a tank with a helmet on, he looked like a complete idiot. His little head poking out. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, over. It's over.
Yeah.
1 second, over. And they said, is this that moment? I'm like, I don't think so. I mean, look, man, the guy needs clicks. He needs people to be aware of him.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to roll the dice sometimes and think, okay, well, here goes nothing. Right? I mean, I'm struggling to get traction right now in a crowded field led by Donald Trump, and I got to do something a little different. And he did. So whether or not it works out in the end of the day, I don't know. But when I hear this guy talk, the more I hear him talk, the more I like him.
Oh, yeah, I love Vivek
I
Ramaswamy.
really do.
Did you see Chris Christie out there? He was sitting there saying the RNC, I guess they're trying to make people sign this, loyalty agreement. Hey,
Yeah.
if you're going to participate in these
Right.
debates, we want you to sign this loyalty agreement.
Saying you want to attack the other guy, right?
Yeah.
Whoever the nominee is, you'll support them, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. Whoever
Okay.
the nominee is, I'll support him no matter what, which is so silly. You can't ask people to support Pence or Chris Christie or some of these guys. Like,
No.
no way. But Chris Christie
No.
came out and he said, nope, I'm not doing that. If Donald Trump is the nominee, I'm not going to support him.
Right.
And he goes, I'll sign it to do whatever I have to do to get up there. But he goes, I won't support Donald Trump if
Okay.
he's the nominee. So Donald Trump isn't going to sign it either.
No.
He said that he's just not going to sign it. Chris Christie's signing it, but he has already said that it doesn't mean anything.
Under protest, yeah.
Yeah.
Who cares? Chris Christie. I mean, seriously, who cares?
The RNC is such a joke.
Well, it is a joke. It's a joke, and it's terrible, and it's run by bad people that don't have an idea of the temperature of the country. No clue.
Mhm.
I see. By the way, speaking of that, Skittles. Did you see this?
Oh boy, I don't
They
know.
put out. They've got a packaging now with. And by the way, I used to be a huge Skittles fan. I haven't for years, but for a while in my life, I was addicted to Skittles. But they now have put out a Black Lives Matter. Black/trans lives matter, correct? Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
So Skittles put the packaging out there. Now I don't know how many of these there are, but the idea that they did it, and apparently they have too many customers, Kat. They want to scale back a little bit.
Yeah.
Too successful. So what do? Well, you do this. Gas prices on the way up. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about now. They're saying global warming is the reason gas prices are up. I blame the U.S. women's soccer team for losing. I think that's why gas prices are up right now. I might as well throw something at the wall, right, and see what sticks. Hey, by the way, where's our friend with the sternly worded letter to the gas companies, the oil companies?
Sharon, where are you?
Where's she at? The gas prices are going up. I thought that should have been stopped by now.
Nope.
Because I mean, OPEC and those oil barons were shaking in their boots when they got that sternly worded letter.
From an
So
Illinois
you're
state
telling
rep.
me, are you telling me now that a state rep in Illinois, who ran on this, by the way, who ran on the idea that she's going to stop big oil from gouging us, now the gas prices are going back up again? What's going on? You've been there how long now? She's been there a few months.
Mhm.
You should have gotten that letter out by now. But are they defying you? Are they looking at you and going, well, we don't care what you think, Sharon Chung, and they're doing it anyway? Are you serious? Do they know the power? Okay. Anyway,
Maybe the
I'm
letter
done.
got lost in the shuffle.
It could have been. See where Anthony Fauci and Collins made $325 million in royalty money, 58 payments from the vaccine
Wow.
company for the pandemic. Americans were suffering. They were making millions. Are we surprised by any of this?
Mm-mm.
Boy, the drip, though, man.
Terrible.
Thank goodness
people.
for Rand Paul. I mean, if it weren't for him, nobody would know about any of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Wuhan labs. I mean, not even in just Wuhan. Are we going to talk about that biolab? Did you see that in California where they're
Yeah.
It's a secret biolab in California that was just uncovered. We're like, oh yeah, don't look over here.
People like the evil scientist in every cartoon you ever watched when you were a kid, rubbing their hands together and cackling. Yes.
Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Yeah. I would get
Evil
them.
Incorporated.
All right. Hey, talk to you later. Have a good day.
Talk to you later. See you
See
later,
ya.
Scott Robbins. Scott Robbins, Scott's Takes. It happens about 7:35 every morning. Don't miss Scott Robbins tonight on Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins, Cities 92.9 at 8 o'clock. Dr. Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated. Yeah. Is that too young? I love Phineas and Ferb. Grew up on Phineas and Ferb, and there's a or I think his name is Peter Doofenshmirtz, Dr. Doofenshmirtz, and he's this evil scientist guy. And we literally have evil scientists in California. There was this bioweapons lab discovered, and they were illegally and under the table kind of doing this Chinese work in California. So we are going to be getting to one of these stories coming out of Mexico, this Mexican congressman. So when I say pay attention America, this is what I mean. And this is one of those stories where I'm going to file it under pay attention America because it's coming. It's coming here. And in the 8 o'clock hour, we are going to be visiting with Dan Calkins. So keep it right here. You're listening to Cities 92.9. Smash the like button. Woo! Hey, good morning. This is the Morning Buzz 7:55. We are going to be getting into this story here about a Mexico congressman found guilty for misgendering. Now, he was given all of these usual penalties, paying a fine, um, things like that. But now this is a bizarre penalty. He's being forced to apologize on his social media every day for a month. Now, this is a congressman out of Mexico, so it's not in the United States. However, this is a story that I like to call Pay Attention America because it's coming. It's coming. Michigan already, there's things like issuing fines if you misgender somebody. And we already have these prominent voices who are all buddy buddy with Joe Biden. And I'm talking about Dylan Mulvaney, several other trans TikTokers who sit down with Joe Biden and they talk about how they want to make misgendering illegal in the United States. They've said this publicly. That pesky little First Amendment can only hold on for so long here in America. So get ready. I mean, I've talked with people who have been cuffed for reading a Bible verse out on a sidewalk. So Rodrigo Cortez spoke out on Twitter months ago about a bill that he said would make Christian teaching of sexuality, the Christian teaching of sexuality, boys are boys, girls are girls, a boy and a girl in the covenant of marriage, love each other and create more life. He said that he was against this bill that would ultimately make it to where it's illegal to teach these Christian teachings of sexuality. And he was guilty, get this, and then he was charged and convicted of violence, so-called digital violence, for referring to this fellow congressman in Mexico as a congressman. So I guess he should have referred to him as Congress Z, Zay, Zed, Star, Zem, Leaf. I'll get to that here in a little bit. CNN publishing a guide on how people are now referring to themselves as stars and leafs. So star self, leaf self, these are noun pronouns. I don't understand, but this guy got in trouble for misgendering this fellow congressman. And he was penalized. So he has to essentially do the equivalent. Remember when the teachers used to uh, make you write 100 times and, I will not lie, I will not lie, I will not lie, or something like this. This is the equivalent of a teacher making you write 100 times, I will not call a boy if they say they're a girl. So he has to post on his own Twitter, Facebook page for every day for a month, saying some sort of apology, issuing some sort of apology. Then he also has to be registered as a political enemy of women for calling a man who says he's a woman a man. Mexico is treating people who believe in both their Bible and their biology textbooks as sex offenders. You have to be on the registry if you believe in your Bible and if you believe in biology textbooks. This is the freaking branch of government. It's not a teacher that nobody likes. The freaking branch of the government is trying to get you to write 100 times, I will not call a boy if they say they're a girl. I'll be back next. here in the 8 o'clock hour, you won't want to miss it. CNN, they are just brutally mocked after posting this guide for neopronouns. You won't believe this. I guess people want to be called star and leaf. Yes, I'm not kidding you. People want to be called star self and leaf self. And there was a University of Illinois professor who says, yeah, well, I'm an expert at neopronouns, and it's very important that we have people respect these pronouns, respect the star self, leaf, self. And I just, it's bizarre. It's so bizarre. And this is clearly, I mean, this is indicative, right, of totally normal community, nothing to see here. They don't have any mental health issues at all. They just want to be called the leaf or a star. Okay. So you better shut up and just call them that because it's the right thing to do. And you'd be excluding them, according to this University of Illinois professor. You're excluding them if you refuse to let these people identify as a star or as a leaf. More on that in a little bit. But first, we do want to get to Jerry Vogler. He's with me on the line. He's the McLean County Superintendent of the Veterans Affairs. And we're going through Veterans Corner today, as we do every Monday at about 8 o'clock. Jerry, did you know, I like the Veterans Corner today, most veterans who enlist after September 7th, 1980, or enter active duty after October 16th, 1981, must have served 24 continuous months or for a full period for which they were called to active duty to be eligible for VA healthcare. So can you explain this part of the Veterans Corner? Did you know? And what do our vets need to know?
Sure. Over the years, the number of months of military service that would make you eligible for VA healthcare has changed. In the 50s, it was 1 day. When I went into service in 1966, it was 30 days. And then it became 90 days. And then eventually in 1980, it became a full 2 years. However, and that is discouraged, by the way, a lot of veterans thinking that they're ineligible because of that 2 year period when they were actually before 1980 and wouldn't have to serve that long. Veterans need to kind of wake up and become aware that there are a number of reasons why those requirements for eligibility don't apply. For instance, if you served in Vietnam or you have a service-connected disability and a whole number of other ones that would allow that person to get VA health care when they think that they don't have that right. The PACT Act, which is called the Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxic Act, has changed that again to expand the availability of VA health care. The big question is now, should veterans apply for enrollment for VA health care even though they may have been denied? And the truth of the matter is absolutely yes. The worst thing can happen is they would say no. And with the exceptions that are not known to the general public or the veterans community out there about what those exceptions are, it makes a lot of sense to go ahead and reapply. It's especially important for people who served overseas where environmental controls are not as good as they are here at American military post, exception to that being Camp Lejeune with their toxic water. So if you served in any of those foreign locations, especially in the Middle East, you were probably exposed to something over there, and you need to have VA health care to track whether you're coming down with anything that may have been caused by that exposure. So very important to get VA health care.
Awesome. And Jerry Vogler, one thing that I wanted to hit before I let you go for Veterans Corner today is that August 7th, 2023 marked the 240th anniversary of the creation of the Badge of Military Merit. It's the Purple Heart. Tell me about Purple Heart Day and National Purple Heart Day on August 7th.
Okay, well, we hyped it a little bit Monday morning, August 7th. It was put together in a very short period of time. What I wanted to do with this week's Veterans Corner is kind of give a recap of what happened. Short ceremony, about 20 minutes. We had an opening prayer, actually an introduction and an opening prayer, then a short speech. And then we read off the names of approximately 52 Purple Heart recipients. And I happen to be the keynote speaker. And the first thing I asked the audience out there was, how many of you Purple Heart awardees actually enlisted in service so that you could win that medal? And I told them then that if they raised their hand saying yes, they're not telling the truth, or they didn't understand why they went into the service, because the Purple Heart is the least wanted medal that you can get, but it also says something about you, that you were there, you served, and you sacrificed with your health because you were wounded. So the ceremony that we had on Monday was pretty well attended. We intend to do it every year from now on. And your notice that we talked about last Monday really helped with the attendance. And we've already gathered another 15, 20 names that we weren't aware of that will be read off at the end of that ceremony. And then, of course, we close the ceremony with taps and wished everybody a good day. And there's a lot of comradeship between the Purple Heart recipients.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad that event was better well attended than being that it was kind of thrown together. And Jerry Vogler, thanks for joining me here on Veterans Corner. We're going to get to a guest here I have in studio, but thanks so much for calling in.
Okay, well, I appreciate the promo this last time and everything you do, Kat, to put veterans issues to the forefront.
Awesome. Wonderful, Jerry Vogler. Thanks for joining me. Now, I alluded to it, folks. We've got a very special guest in studio, Dan Calkins. You can see he and me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. We're everywhere. So he's in studio with me. We've got so much to get through when it comes to this Second Amendment case being upheld. So they upheld the unconstitutional, but they said it's constitutional, the Illinois Supreme Court, this so-called assault weapons ban. That's what they say it is. But Dan, tell me about that. So this was your case that was struck where they said, screw your case. We're going to say that the so-called assault weapons ban is constitutional. And I actually really enjoy your case, and I don't think it's as weak as people are saying.
No, it was a very well constructed case, and it made perfect sense. And we won our case in Macon County in the district court. A judge very carefully just looked at our arguments and this attorney general's arguments and decided that based on the Constitution of Illinois, that this law violated the Equal Protection Clause, special legislation clause, and granted us a permanent final determination that the law was unconstitutional. That determination then allowed the Attorney General to take this directly to the Illinois Supreme Court. No appellate courts needed because it was a constitutional issue. We filed all our paperwork and then had oral arguments in May in the Illinois Supreme Court in Springfield. They carefully considered what we gave them and last Friday issued their opinion. Disappointing, Kat. Our case is really simple. Can the state of Illinois, the General Assembly and the governor, deny people their constitutional rights and give it to some people and not give it to others? And I kind of use an analogy. If they can do this with the Second Amendment, can they do it with the First Amendment? Can the Illinois General Assembly decide that you didn't graduate from journalism school, therefore you're not qualified to be a reporter or a host of a talk show?
Yeah.
And it's just that simple.
I don't think it was a weak case at all. Well, and what you're talking about here is that this gun ban, there's a lot of pistols out there with over 15 rounds and police officers even, in fact. So they actually they amended it. And I think it's because you had brought this suit against the state. Right. And you said, hey, look, police officers get to have these types of guns. why is it that the United States citizens can't have these types of guns? There's equal protection under the law. Is it just because they're law enforcement? I think that that is actually a very, I mean, I'm not an attorney or anything, but like you are going a different direction than, say, Tom DeVore. So how does your case differ with Tom DeVore?
Well, the real truth is that our case came from Tom DeVore. When he filed his case and got the TRO, we were very happy about that for him and his clients. And in fact, had him on a live Facebook Live event that Friday night or Thursday night, and joking around and kind of said, well, maybe we ought to do something like this in Macon County. And he said, yeah, go do it. I mean, that's what he told us.
No, I know. I remember having you, and it was all kind of, he sent over his like legal paperwork.
Right.
And
well, it was all available online, but he sent it to us and I offered to pay him for it. I offered to pay him. I said, hey, I've got a not to exceed agreement with an attorney here in town, and I want to pay you for your work. I don't want to steal your work. And he rejected that. He said, no, I don't need your money. I've got plenty of money from, from my clients, and you guys just take this case and run with it up in Macon County. Our attorney decided to go about it a different way. Everybody that's taken a Second Amendment case to the Illinois courts has been kicked out.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to get across is that folks are sitting there saying, oh, well, the case was weak and blah, blah, blah. I don't think it is weak. It's weak at all. Now, it's different. I will say that. And it's part of Tom DeVore's original case. But what you were trying to do was now if we had multiple people, I wish even more counties, not just Macon County, but somebody in McLean County, somebody in Cook County. If we would have had just the force of 1,000 waterfalls, I guess as the saying goes, I think it would have been better. If we would have, and I think that there's multiple cases out there in regards to this gun ban, including Tom DeVore's, which isn't through yet. Tom DeVore still has his case out there and it's at the state level. We'll see if he wins. But you said something that I've been trying to hit. I mean, all morning, and with people who say the case was weak and, he did more damage than good. No. The Illinois Supreme Court has kicked out almost every single Second Amendment case that's been before them because they're woke losers.
Every case. Yeah.
It's a majority of woke losers who have been paid by Pritzker, which was shocking to find that Mary Kay O'Brien, who actually was paid the millions. So
let's get to her right away, because this is something I did not realize Friday when we were going through all the press conferences. I hadn't really had a chance to read her opinion.
Yeah.
Her opinion is that she agreed that this case does violate the Equal Protection Clause. But she says nobody, police officers, sheriffs, state police, prison guards, nobody should own any of these 100 and some odd weapons.
Oh, that's why she dissented.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, no, she didn't dissent on the side of the Second Amendment.
See, I haven't read it, Dan. I haven't gotten to that yet.
Hey, I hadn't either. But over the weekend, we've had time to look into this.
That's really funny. Because here I was like, oh, cool. Mary Kay O'Brien. We've got like a Democrat who agrees with us. No, it didn't go far enough. Like your case didn't go far enough. And that,
right. Well, she said that the law doesn't go far enough. That no citizen should possess a semi-automatic rifle, shotgun, pistol, repair parts.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Wow. We have to take a quick break, but we're talking with Illinois State Representative Dan Calkins. He's not actually going to be a state representative for much longer. He's
18 more months, January 2025. Don't shove me out the door.
We're like, get out, Dan Calkins.
No, I got a lot of work to do. We've got fights to fight.
18 months. So we are actually going to be talking a little bit about who you've endorsed for your seat when you approach retirement here, which I do want to commend you. I do think that that's great that you are sticking to your term limits. You said term limits, I'm out of here. We're going to get to all of that, plus a little bit more of this. I want to press you a little bit harder on this case, your case, and Tom DeVore's case, and what he's saying about your case via this Center Square article you can find on cities929.com. We'll be back.
On Alexa, I'm Tom Davis.
Forecast on Cities 92.9.
I'm staff meteorologist John Weatherby. Mostly cloudy, gusty winds. 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms, 76. 30% chance of evening showers and thunderstorms, 60 for tonight.
This portion of the show is a service of the Long Branch again in Cooksville. Stop in and try one of their mouth-watering steaks that have never been in the freezer at the Long Branch again in Cooksville.
If we've learned anything from recent news, it's that unexpected things are happening. Your gut tells you there's something very wrong going on, and all the evidence suggests that there is. Government emails are hacked. There's talk of how to fight World War III, and trade of grains and food are being disrupted. Those in charge say everything's fine. Stop noticing, but you know better. It's time to invest in self-reliance and emergency food storage now, more than ever. My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, is the place you can trust. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and secure their best-selling 3-month emergency food kits. Each contains tasty breakfasts, lunch, and dinners, averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Get at least one food kit for each family member. For a limited time, save 25%, plus get free shipping on all their 3-month emergency food kits. Go to mypatriotsupply.com today. It's time to prepare for what's coming. mypatriotsupply.com.
3, 2, 1, blast off! That was the countdown the Chinese did before the spy balloon took off and traveled across America. 3, 2, and this is the countdown until you pick up the phone and sign up for our Insiders Club. It's so easy, even Kamala Harris can do it.
I don't understand the point that you're making.
Sign up for the Cities Insider Club by entering your email address on cities929.com. You're going to get news before anyone else and up-to-date information on cities events, contests, and special programming.
Right? Can you raise your hand if you love a yellow school bus, right? Just, there's something about and most of us, many of us went to school on the yellow school bus, right?
Okay. It's a big yellow button on cities929.com. Okay. Hope for Warriors helps our veteran friends right here in Central Illinois in real time.
A team of people to connect to.
For the Warriors been able to link me up with that additional opportunity, that sort of non-traditional.
But it's only because there's men and women out there that are protecting this wonderful country about it.
Freedom isn't free, and services like housing and utilities to gift cards or even just transportation can provide hope for someone like Nate of Normal, Illinois. Hope for Warriors wants vets to apply for help, and to apply, click on the Hope for Warriors logo on our website, cities929.com.
Cities 92.9 Sports.
Cubs failed to get the sweep in Toronto yesterday. It cost them ground in the Central Division race. Chicago now 3.5 behind Milwaukee after losing 11-4 at Rogers Center. Cubs did take 2 of 3 from the Jays, but got no help from their crosstown rivals, the White Sox, as they were swept by Milwaukee after yesterday's 7-3 loss. Cubs with a day off Monday before the Crosstown Classic Round 2 comes to Wrigley at 7:05 Tuesday. Cards had a rare Saturday off. Lucas Glover won the FedEx St. Jude Championship, his second title in 2 weeks, this time by making 3 big putts, one of them for bogey on the back nine, closing in at 169, and then beating Patrick Cantlay in a playoff with ultimately the most important shot-finding land when Cantlay found water. I'm Chris Murphy, Cities 92.9 Sports.
Severe weather strikes. Count on Cities 92.9 and the difference makers at Paul Davis Restoration to stay on top of the weather situation, including watches and warnings, anytime, day or night. When threatening weather hits, turn to Cities 92.9. Paul Davis Restoration Severe Weather Center for up-to-the-minute weather updates. Keep your family safe when severe weather is in the area. Tune in to the Paul Davis Restoration Severe Weather Center on Cities 92.9.
Mark Levin here, and I'm live on Cities weeknights at 5. You won't want to miss a minute of the show, so download the app and stream Cities all day long. Cities 92.9.
You're uptown.
What's new, cat?
Cat class and I got cat style.
Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. Dan Calkins joining me in studio, and we've been talking a lot about this gun ban, where it was upheld by the Illinois Supreme Court. And I, like Dan, saw the ruling. It come down 4-3. And we've been talking about Mary Kay O'Brien. She was kind of like, oh, she got $1 million along with Elizabeth, and they're probably going to vote yes, this law is constitutional. Obviously, it's not. That's what Dan Calkins, his case, was arguing. Just a rundown of what your case was kind of built on.
It was built on the fact that we have now separated out classes of people who can enjoy their Second Amendment rights and class of people who can't. We've made it that legal FOID card holders, we don't like the law, but that's the law in Illinois. And so everybody that wants to have a gun has to have a FOID card. Wants to buy ammunition, you have to have a FOID card. So we do that. We're lawful. We're legal owners of firearms. Well, if we're not in this special class, a law enforcement, military, prison guards, sheriffs, whatever, we're being denied the right to buy or sell or possess certain items that the Second Amendment guarantees us the freedom to do. Mm-hmm. And that was the basis of our case, that this is not all people are equally protected. So the Supreme Court, the majority opinion, twisted that all around and talked about grandfathered people are grandfathered, and you can keep them if you register them, but you can't own them. You can't sell them. I can't go buy one. I can't sell what I have if I want to get rid of it. If your gun is in a pawn shop that you pawned for Christmas, that you wanted to get a little extra money, you can't get it back. I mean, there's all kinds of really bad outcomes from this law. Mm-hmm. Very bad.
And you were arguing that, hey, I'm Dan Calkins. I've done so much when it comes to firearm training. You were telling me about times on the ranges. I mean, you've done firearm instruction.
Right. No, well, I mean, in active duty, reserves and guard, I've spent a lot of time, obviously, around AR-15, M16s, M14s, M60 machine guns. I mean, M2 50 cals. I ran ranges. I taught courses on marksmanship. Even after I've gotten out of the guard, I continue to keep my proficiency up down at the Bullet Trap in Macon. I also belong to the Leroy Gun Club and the DeWitt County Sportsman's Club. So I'm up to speed, up to date, and yet I have no way to get my Second Amendment rights back in Illinois.
Yeah, unless you are paid by the state via taxpayer dollars, and you're some sort of law enforcement.
Right.
Which I think that even though the case was shot down and the law has been upheld as constitutional, there's some positives to your case and what you were arguing, because now it's out there. Now people can see that, hey, law enforcement agencies, and I would imagine that these, anti-police type, these leftists, Antifa, where are you guys on this? Because they're essentially saying that, cops get to use guns against you and you can't use them back. Right. So where are the armed Antifa militants? Where are they outraged by this? Because I don't know about you, Dan, but this sounds like fascism. Well, you've got the
in a way
armed and citizens not.
Yeah, and that's I think what's going on around the country is they're trying to disarm the population. But Antifa guys and gals, they don't have FOID cards. Criminals in Chicago, they don't have a FOID
I'm going to snip that audio clip.
Okay, yeah.
Antifa guys and gals, they don't have FOID cards.
They don't have FOID cards, and they don't follow the law. They don't register.
So they don't care.
They don't care. This doesn't stop anything from, this trafficking of guns, keeping me from selling my rifle or pistol. Doesn't stop somebody from out of state trafficking guns in Illinois. Mm-hmm. It doesn't stop the criminals. And it's just a real quick note. Since this law was introduced and signed by Governor Pritzker, we've had 363 people, and I can only do this for Cook County. I wasn't able to put all it together for the whole state, but we've had 363 people murdered in Cook County with gun violence. 363 people since this law in January was enacted. 1,897, almost 1,900 people have been shot in Cook County. Now, 96% of those people are minorities, blacks and Hispanics. 96%. You think those folks would want to protect themselves, and that's part of the problem. Also up in the Chicago area, they have what they call shot trackers. They've got these microphones that listen for gunfire so that they can send police into that area. Since this law has been put into effect, these shot trackers, and they're not in every neighborhood, they're in the most violent neighborhoods. Over 100,000 shots have been recorded in Chicago.
Wow.
Since this law is put
So
into
this
effect.
law doesn't do anything.
No, it doesn't do anything except make law-abiding citizens felons. If we choose not to register our the guns that are on this list, or get rid of, somehow dispose of these magazines that are more than 10 rounds for a rifle, 15 rounds for a pistol.
Yeah. And one thing that I want to point out before we cut to break here is that you said something very important that people need to remember when it comes to this Illinois Supreme Court decision, is that in the Illinois Supreme Court, the Illinois court system is corrupt, and it goes all the way up to the top. You can see the donations made to Elizabeth and Mary Kay O'Brien. They received $1 million, I think, each from Governor J.B. Pritzker alone, not to mention Kwame Raoul and others of the like.
Right.
And
yeah, Governor Pritzker, there's a cap. Now think about this. There's a cap on donations to Supreme Court justices. $500,000. No individual can give more than I don't know who's got $500,000 to give to a candidate, but $500,000. So how did Governor Pritzker get around that? He personally gave each of them $500,000. And then his trust gave each of them $500,000. And so the law, technically speaking, he didn't violate the campaign donations law by finding this technicality.
yeah, because he worked his way around it. He did, I think, through his personal fund and through then his campaign fund, and he worked his way around it, which was,
It's kind of like taking toilets out of your house.
Well, and then he was the one who, he was the one who created the law, right? That was the cap, the 500,000. So you would think that he would abide by the law. No, that was all political theater. It was a way to say, look at me, I'm cutting down on corruption in the state of Illinois, and I'm capping political donations to $500,000. But yet you made like $1 million to these Illinois Supreme Court justices. And I want to talk about Mary Kay O'Brien here, because her dissension was really interesting. And when you read her opinion, it was 4-3. So she actually voted to strike down the law.
Correct.
So I was like, yeah. Mary Kay. But I think the reason why, well, and then you told me just now this morning that you read her opinion and it's not for the reasons you think. So what did her opinion say?
Well, essentially, she said the law is unconstitutional because it treats different people differently. And in her opinion, no one should be able to buy, sell, possess these banned items. No one. Now, you have to understand this. The only way this law got passed is that they were exempting law enforcement, military, guards, because if they had not exempted these people, the pushback on the Democrats would have been extremely harsh. So they made these carve outs, and Mary Kay O'Brien said, you shouldn't have done that.
Nobody should have it. And these people play 4D chess. These corrupt people, they play 4D chess. And what they're trying to do here is kind of spin this narrative and get people like me and even Dan, to think that, oh, she's on our side. And she was one of the judges who got this $1 million donation. So maybe the $1 million donation, does, and the left can say, the media can say, oh, well, the $1 million donation obviously didn't matter because, look, Elizabeth voted to uphold the law, and Mary Kay said it was unconstitutional. So they'll say that they had different opinions, or they voted differently, and that the money didn't matter. But it does, because when you read her opinion, it is as far left as they come. And she's almost trying, and I don't know if this is true or what, but I would imagine that if you're going to go that far on something, you're trying to get a pat on the back from somebody.
Well, you think that maybe
JB likes it.
Maybe the people that put you in office.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's the other part, the two the two other dissenters were the Republican
Older.
Supreme Court judges, and they said this law shouldn't even be on the books.
Mhm.
It did not pass the constitutional muster of the 3 separate readings on 3 separate days.
Mm.
And they acknowledged
So the process
was wrong.
and that's about and that's,
And that's
Tom
what Tom,
DeVore's case.
that's what
is
that's
about.
and that's what Mr. DeVore is arguing, and there's no dispute. I don't understand why there's, what do you have to take depositions for? The record is the record, and the record is that this bill was a lame duck session bill passed, hurriedly. It was not read 3 times. I mean, it's no one denies that.
Yeah.
That
So do you think that not having them together, your bit
Mhm.
and Tom DeVore's bit of what he's going after the process of how the bill was actually passed. You went after the bill itself and then the equal protection under the law. Keeping them together, would that have been more would that have been stronger? I don't know. I don't know.
it's a legal strategy. I think it's better. The more lawsuits we have, the better off you are to keep pounding away at this problem. And, Mr. DeVore, I'm sure, is more than capable of telling you what his legal strategy is. I'm sure that he's going to continue on in some fashion. But, we cannot attack this law on the Second Amendment in the Illinois courts. They will not hear it. They said it. They've done it. This opinion even says we're not deciding this on the Second Amendment.
Mhm.
The opinions, the majority opinion said this is not decided on the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear it in the Illinois state courts. So,
Yeah, they don't care about the Second Amendment.
well,
And
it's just not an issue that they're prepared to deal with. And so anyone that wants to sue over this, this law, you might as well just go right to the federal court system if you want to argue Second Amendment.
because our Illinois Supreme Court justices don't give a darn about the U.S. Constitution
Right.
and how it blatantly says shall not be infringed.
Right.
I think it's pretty clear.
Well, and it's not just our courts. I mean, it's our General Assembly, it's our governor.
legislators. Yeah.
I mean, we just got. What was the law? The Senate Bill 1909, which is a pregnancy center law. That they're going to hold pregnancy centers accountable for not
Deceptive-
yeah
so-called deceptive practices.
Deceptive
whatever
practices.
Kwame Raoul.
and Peter Bream filed the lawsuit and said this violates the First Amendment. When this bill was proposed, when it was debated in committee, I sat there and listened to it. When it was debated on the House floor, we made very strong arguments that this was unconstitutional because it violates the First Amendment. They didn't care.
Mhm.
They didn't care. The governor take great pride in signing this bill into law. He doesn't care that it violates the Constitution.
Yeah.
Well, we found a judge, or there was a judge that heard the case and said, this is terrible. This is terrible law. It's terrible bill. What in the world are you people thinking? And he put a restraining order on it. And
Then that's going to go up to the Illinois Supreme Court. I mean, this is just baked into the cake. And
Right.
I'm really upset with Republicans who sit there and they're going to try to say that, well, the case is weak, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter. These people don't want to hear about the Second Amendment. They don't care about the Second Amendment. It doesn't even faze them. They're like, Second Amendment, what are you talking about?
yeah, why we're trying to get rid of that, remember?
Yeah. Well,
Well,
like, and that's the thing that people aren't getting through their thick skulls. Like, this isn't about, case. It doesn't matter what was presented before that Illinois Supreme Court. They went in there and they knew what way they were going to vote prior to.
It's
The
unfortunate.
Republicans were going to err on the side of the Second Amendment and uphold that it was unconstitutional, and the
Right.
Democrats were going to sit there and say that
This is their version of for the common good.
Mhm.
And that's what you can do in Illinois in our courts. You can't do that in the federal courts anymore. You can't say, well, for the common good, we're going to let this slide. Not in federal court.
Yeah. So it's going to get shut down. And folks, don't worry.
Pritzker knows it.
It'll get shut down. And yeah, and he just wants to run for president.
Yes, he does.
So it's
And stack the Supreme Court.
Yes, yes. So we are going to come back, Dan Calkins. We'll see if he can stay over. If not, then I will.
I'm good.
Okay, well then we'll have him end out the show with me here on the Morning Buzz. Come back after the break. This is the Morning Buzz.
Cities 92-second news brought to you by
Driscoll Motors, your Chevrolet and GMC dealer in Pontiac. Meet the team and shop the new and pre-owned inventory. Driscoll's, your did it, done it, and still dealing dealer.
With Illinois set to become the first state in the nation to fully abolish cash bail next month, Florida's chief financial officer made an appeal to Illinois business owners, saying that they should consider moving their families and their businesses to the Sunshine State. A letter addressed to Illinois business owners called the elimination of cash bail, quote, pure insanity. Governor Pritzker vetoes a bill lifting the moratorium on new nuclear plants. Kim Howard reports.
In his veto message, the governor cited concerns about the bill, such as not having regulations to protect the people who live and work near the plants. Senator Sue Resin of Morris, who sponsored the legislation, says the state needs access to nuclear power.
As we're trying to decarbonize, it's important to have nuclear among many other types of energy as part of our portfolio. The wind doesn't always blow and the sun doesn't always shine, so wind and solar cannot provide the capacity that we need for reliability and resiliency.
The ban has been in place since 1987. Resin says she will be pushing for a veto override this fall. At the state capitol, I'm Kim Howard.
News on the air, on the web, on your app, and on Alexa. I'm Tom Davis.
Some people love the sounds of chickens clucking away. While at the Long Branch again, you won't hear any clucking. Because we prefer our chicken quiet and tasty. Come out to the Long Branch again in Cooksville for a little peace and quiet while you enjoy our delicious chicken. Whether you prefer it fried or grilled, their cluckless chicken will have you coming back to the Long Branch again for more. Less clucking and more taste, the way chicken was meant to be enjoyed. The Long Branch again in Cooksville.
Need more customers walking through your door? They're right here, listening to this radio station. Here's Jake Detmers, one of the good guys from Barker Chevy in Lexington, to tell you more.
I would tell you to jump in with both feet. It's going to be very, very easy for you going with Great Plains Media. You're really going to be servicing those top of funnel consumers that really just need to be hearing your message consistently. And Great Plains Media will be able to give you the creativity you want to make sure that your business is selling out there in the fields. Don't hesitate. Just do it.
Are you looking for an interview podcast where you can be entertained and informed? Come check out our new podcast, America's Talking, to hear conversations with great stand-up comedians like Mark Norman.
Or made you feel smarter than him, even though he was smarter than you.
As well as with leaders in the United States, like former Ambassador Andrew Bremberg.
I remember the fall of the evil empire. When the wall fell, every adult I saw was crying.
I'm your host, Austin Berg, and I want you to join the conversation on our new podcast, America's Talking, right now on Spotify.
Are you looking for a new podcast where you can get your national news from a taxpayer's perspective? Check out the America in Focus podcast featuring the Center Square's Dan McCaleb.
This jobs report, in some ways, it contradicts what I'm seeing anecdotally.
And Casey Harper.
And it's not just the economy. He has a 28% approval on the economy, but he also has 36% approval on foreign policy.
Find America in Focus wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe. That's America in Focus, a news podcast from a taxpayer's perspective.
The Fox Business Report is from INB's new Lockbox Lite, making it easier for businesses to get their banking done.
I'm Neil Cavuto, and this is the Fox Business Report.
U.S. Steel shares are rallying. The company's now a takeover target. It says many organizations are looking to invest in or take over U.S. Steel. Cleveland Cliffs says it offered more than $7 billion for U.S. Steel, but the bid was rejected. Apple supplier Foxconn is reporting a better than expected quarter, though it's suggesting a drop in iPhone and iPad sales. Foxconn sees business picking up this fall, though it says it may still fall short of last year. Amazon says it believes generative AI can help you to quickly determine what other customers are saying about a product. Its new AI-powered feature is available to a subset of mobile shoppers in the U.S. across a broad selection of products. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Good morning. Hey, your electric bill going up? Yep. Dan Calkins, Illinois State Representative, he's joining me here, and he's telling me about something that has gotten through the state legislature, right, where it bans nuclear energy power plants, any new nuclear energy power plants from erecting.
Right.
Like, you just can't build any more nuclear power plants in the state of Illinois. Tell me about the bill and what it does.
The history, the backstory on this, Cat, is that years and years ago, I think really back in 1985 or such, Illinois enacted a law that says that you cannot build any more nuclear power plants in Illinois until the government figures out how to get rid of nuclear waste. And now there's spent fuel sitting around that's encapsulated. We've never had a problem. There's never been a leak. There's never been an issue. But they decided that until we can figure out how to get rid of that stuff, we can't have another nuclear power plant. So that's way back in 1985. Sorry.
No, you're good. I got the cough button.
You got it. Thanks. You got the delay button for me. That's even better. So for the last, I've been in the General Assembly 5 years. I've been on 2 energy committees.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been fighting this bill because nuclear technology has changed dramatically since 1985. In fact, it's changed dramatically since 2000. I mean, every year there's new technology, there's new ways to generate. We've had nuclear powered submarines, nuclear powered aircraft carriers, nuclear powered destroyers in the military. We are running little cities on nuclear energy. And so they've been looking, scientists and engineers have been looking at a way to scale that to where we could run cities, counties, regions
on nuclear
power plants, small modular nuclear power plants. Well, it finally, after 5 years of debating and pushing and crying and shoving and begging, we finally got the General Assembly to agree that we should open up Illinois to this new technology. We should allow companies that want to get involved in this new technology to consider Illinois, because we are a net importer of electricity in Ameren, and we could use additional generators. And we've already outlawed coal. We've already outlawed gas. So nobody's going to come and build a new generator in Illinois. We're buying 40% of our electricity from out of state. So why not look at the future? Let's be open to the greenest
nuclear.
Yeah. There's no emissions. I mean, it's a highly efficient way to generate electricity.
They don't want any of it. They want to ban coal. They want to ban gas. They want to ban all of this, and they want to go with all electric, which
all wind and solar.
All wind and solar, which is just not feasible.
They can't do it.
And you brought up something. We got to take a break about Governor J.B. Pritzker and how he's hitting all of the stops, right? Abortion,
right?
Guns. Energy. He's trying to launch himself into some sort of probably presidential run.
Well, it's painfully obvious that Illinois is a petri dish for Governor Pritzker and his run for president. He's done every far left extremist thing to our state to make him attractive to the far left base of the Democrat Party. When President Biden decides not to run again for whatever reason, It's like sharks in the water.
Yeah, sure.
JB Pritzker out there zooming around, going around the country, doing all these things.
Yeah, I don't know if he's necessarily a shark. I'd say a whale. But we're going to come back here on the Morning Buzz. This is Cities 92.9.
Fox News commentary.
As Maui burns, Joe Biden asked for another $24 billion for Ukraine. It would be nice if those elected to represent Americans represented Americans. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The blaze ravaging Maui is already the deadliest wildfire in the U.S. in more than a century. The death toll continues to rise, and as of this morning was over 90. Damage across the island is estimated to cost close to $6 billion, and nearly 5,000 people are without shelter. I'm aware FEMA is on the ground. I'm aware Biden declared a federal disaster declaration, but I can't help but think how far the $24 billion Joe just asked for, in addition to the $113 billion we've already sent to Ukraine, would go for the people in Maui, in East Palestine, Ohio, and America. For God's sake, I am so sick of watching America burn, literally and figuratively, as our leaders squander away our money fighting battles for other countries. This is wholly unacceptable. America first used to mean something, and I hope one day it does again. I'm Tommy Lahren.
This portion of the Morning Buzz is service of the Door Doctor. Lower your utility bill with a properly insulated garage door, professionally installed by the Door Doctor.
She told you to call earlier. Now she's mad. Arms crossed, angry, eyes mad. You feel the sweat trickle down your nose as you punch the numbers that will save your day.
Hey folks, when your AC isn't working, don't get mad. Call Jerry at Bab Service. He'll cool things down in a hurry. If your AC has to huff and puff to keep up, or your home isn't as cool as you'd like, it might be time for a new, more energy-efficient model. When something in your home doesn't work, don't get mad. Call Bab. Bab Service.
That water dripping sound is the sound of you wasting money on your water bill. And a faucet that drips once per second can waste up to 6 gallons of water each day. Hey folks, Jerry Babb here. If you've got plumbing issues, leaky faucets, clogged or slow running drains, sump pump problems, no hot water, or hot water that takes forever, give Babb Service a call to take care of it all. Remember one name when things need plumbing service, Babb Service. Give us a call at 829-9455 or shoot me an email, jerry@babservice.com.
Hey, Washington and Morton, Dick Van Dyke Appliance World is your home for the best selection of home appliances, the best in-home service team, and a free 10-year protection plan. Visit online at appliance-world.com. Wow!
Since 1981, residents of Central Illinois have trusted McLean County Asphalt and Materials to supply them with the landscape material they need to transform their yards into great family memories. From sand to natural stone boulders and Unilock pavers, you'll find what you're looking for at McLean County Asphalt and Materials. Save yourself countless trips to the Big Bucks Lumberyard and your money when you have McLean County Asphalt and Materials deliver your order. Get started on your project at McLeanCountyAsphalt.com.
Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. You're listening to Cities 92.9. And Dan Calkins, he truly believes that Governor J.B. Pritzker is going to try to launch himself into some sort of presidential run.
Oh, he has a whole staff that works for him to improve his image and to make sure that he gets around to Davos and Europe and, all over the country. Plus, he's been making campaign donations and supporting causes that he thinks will further his political aspirations. There's no doubt. This is not his aspiration to be the governor of Illinois. He really, truly believes that he should be the president of the United States, and he's going to do everything he can to be the most far left, candidate in a Democrat presidential primary.
Well, I'm sorry,
wrong,
if Michelle gets into the running, Michael. Oh, sorry. No, I do mean Michelle. If Michael gets in, Michelle. Come on, Kat. You're gonna lose.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose. They're probably gonna lose.
But I don't think she is.
Yeah,
I
I
really don't.
The Telegraph came out with some sort of a headline
Yeah, well,
trying
let's
to
move
launch.
on. We don't want to talk about her.
So we do want to talk about Regan.
Okay.
Some good people who are actually running, and you've thrown your endorsement behind Regan for the Illinois 88th
Correct.
district, which is your district.
Well,
and-
it's the district I serve.
Mhm.
It's not my district, and that rubs me wrong. It's our district. It's the people's district, and I'm fortunate enough to have been elected 3 times to serve in a capacity that gives me an opportunity to represent people in Springfield.
Mhm.
So I'm
And
a little sensitive to that.
yeah, and you're totally all for these term limits, and you're sticking by your word, and you're getting out of there.
I term limited myself to 3 terms, 6 years. I felt that I wanted to be here for the new map, which went into effect this January. So we had the census, and then they redrew everything. But I wanted to be able to serve and run to make sure that we kept that seat in the Republican column. I didn't want the Democrats to try to carve up our district, and so that's why I said 6 years. And I'm 76 years old, and it's time to move on and bring somebody new in.
Now we got about a minute left. Just real quick, why Regan right away? Why not wait to see? Chuck Erickson has announced that he's running for that seat
Right.
as well. Why not wait?
Well, I interviewed 6 different people that came to me and said they wanted to run for the House in the 88th district. I talked to 6 different people. I discouraged every one of them. I tried to tell them how bad it was to be in the super minority and how frustrating it can be, and what you're really up against, and how much time and effort it really takes to do this job, to represent the people. And out of all the people I talked to, the person that was the most dedicated, had the experience, was a proven leader in our community, was Regan Deering. And that's why I chose her. She's very conservative. She ran for Congress 2 years ago, so she's not afraid of campaigning. She's got a great network of support. She's on the Mount Zion School Board. She sued Governor Pritzker over the mask mandate. She's not afraid to stand up to the powerful. And I think, she's a master's in education. She's had it wasn't a Sylvan Learning Center, but it was something like that she ran for 9 years. Very, very successful. I think she'd be a great state representative, and that's why I decided to choose her. Nothing against Chuck. He's a conservative Republican. There's the great service on the county board. This is just the person that I saw of all the people I talked to. So that's why I chose her.
Wonderful. Dan Calkins, thanks so much for joining me in the 8 o'clock hour. You guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for joining me here on The Buzz. We'll do it again tomorrow, 6 a.m., bright and early. Bye-bye.
Get everything for your automotive needs with 11% off everything at Menards. Shell Rotella